Hi, this is Aidan from the Collins Hill Library, and today we're going to be talking about how to make your very own journal from scratch. There are lots of different ways you can use your journal. You can use it to keep a record of the events and the experiences that you've had. You can use it as a way of reflecting on the past. But another way you can use it is to think about the things you want to accomplish, the goals that you've set for yourself, and then to track your progress towards them. Now, in a moment, I'm going to show you how to create a journal completely from scratch, but I will say you have some other options. One of those is to take a simple composition notebook and cover it in scrapbooking paper or duct tape. You can make something very attractive and very simple, very easily and very effectively. However, if you're interested in making one completely from scratch, you don't need anything other than a few basic household materials. You'll need the following items. Sheets of paper. It doesn't matter if they're lined, plain or graph paper. Any of these will be useful. Now, I will say that dotted or graph paper can be particularly helpful if you're going to be using the bullet journaling technique that we'll be talking about in a minute. A sheet of light cardstock or scrapbooking paper. This is optional, but a small piece of heavier cardboard can be helpful in protecting your table. A couple of staples, a push pin, and then pens and scissors to decorate. Now, those materials are needed to create the basis of your journal, but you will want to add things to give it more personality, to make it look like something that you have created. So you can use things like duct tape, scrapbooking paper. Any kind of embellishments that you might use in the scrapbook work brilliantly in this program. Ribbons, colored markers, Sharpies, that kind of stuff. So let's get started. Begin by assembling the inside of your journal. Take paper sheets and fold them neatly in half. Make sure you line up the corners so that it folds neatly and creates a straight edge. Now take your light cardstock and fold it in half as well. Line your paper up carefully inside the cardstock and make sure that at least one edge is flush with the cover. That way you can avoid having to do extra cutting. The second step is to begin to bind your journal. If you're using the piece of heavy cardboard, slide it underneath the paper. This will protect your table. Take a staple and lay it roughly where you want that staple to go. Using a push pin, drive it through all of the sheets and through the cover. You want to leave two holes. I'm going to push our staple through in a minute from the other side. Repeat this for the other staple. So now we come to the third step. Flip your journal over and slowly push the staples into the two sets of holes. When your staples are all the way in, flip your journal over again and fold those staples closed. Step 4. If the papers inside your journal and the cover aren't exactly the same size, now's the time to use your scissors and to cut them down to match. You want a flush edge so it looks as neat and tidy as possible. Now it's time to decorate. You can use any of the materials I suggested earlier. Personally, I like to use duct tape. I think it gives it a very crisp and clean look. And on top of that, it also makes your cover more durable and it makes it a little heavier, so it feels more substantial. And you will end up with something like this. There are lots of different ways that you can use your journal. The most obvious one is to use it as a record of the events from day to day. This is a very popular form of journaling, diary keeping, and it can be a fun way of reflecting on your memories. One of the most popular types of journaling these days is called bullet journaling. Now, this is a more artistic approach to journal keeping. And what it means is that you keep track of information through visuals as much as through the written word. Often people keeping a bullet journal will use dotted or graph paper as a way of drawing basic layouts that they're going to work with. And then into that layout, they plug information. There are so many different types of page layouts. I can't begin to list them all today. But I can give you a few different ideas for how you can use this technique. One of my favorite page layouts is the wellness gauge or the happiness gauge. And what you do is you create a design that has spaces, one for each day of the month. Now you could just do boxes if you want, but if you feel more artistic, you could do something like drawing leaves on a tree or fish in a fish tank. Each day will have an element that represents it. When you get to that day of the month, if you've had a good day, you would color it green. If your day has been mediocre, orange or yellow. If it's been a bad day, red. And at a glance, as you get to the end of the month, you can see how your month was sort of just at a view. You can use the same technique for ideas like budget keeping. Did you keep within your daily budget? Did you go over? You could use it for dieting, for homework, productivity. Anything that you want could be represented visually that way. I like to use the same technique for financial planning. Take a goal that you're working towards, maybe a small trip that you're planning to make, or something that you're saving to pay for, and break it into a number of much smaller payments. Represent each of those with an image or a space, and as you achieve that amount of money, mark it off, color it in somehow, and you'll see that bar slowly fill up. And as you do, you'll know that you're progressing towards your target. Finally, I like to use mine to keep track of my ongoing projects and hobbies. I find it can be really useful to organize my thoughts this way and basically keep a record that I can refer to later of the things I've read, the books I've enjoyed, the films I've seen. So those are just a couple of ideas for page layouts that can get you started with bullet journaling. If you're interested in learning more, I would certainly refer you towards websites like Pinterest or WordPress, where you'll find lots of bloggers and enthusiasts have put up sample versions of pages that work for them. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you were able to use this technique to create your own journal and that you find it as useful as a means of engaging your productivity as I do.